Chapter 1. The Silent War Within Every Trader. The market opens. Charts flicker to life, green and red candles breathing like living things. You lean forward, eyes focused, heartbeat steady, or so you think. In those first few moments, a trader's world feels alive with possibility. Every price movement whispers a new story. Every tick promises a new outcome. But beneath that surface, beneath the screens and the data, something else is happening. A quieter battle, an unseen war, one not fought on the charts, but within your own mind. This is the silent war within every trader. The constant struggle between logic and emotion, discipline and impulse, patience and the desperate need to act. It's a battle few ever recognize, yet it's the one that decides everything. Every trader faces two battles. The first is against the market, unpredictable, relentless, ever-changing. The second, far more dangerous, is against the self. You can't control the market. You can't make it move in your direction, no matter how perfect your analysis seems. But you can control how you respond to it. And that's where the true fight begins. It's not about whether the market goes up or down. It's about whether you stay grounded when it does. It's about what happens in those moments when your plan is tested, when your emotions start whispering louder than your logic. That's when fear takes the wheel. That's when greed drowns out reason. That's when discipline, your greatest weapon, begins to fade. Every trader has felt it. That tightening in the chest when a trade moves against you. That surge of euphoria when a position spikes in your favor. That creeping doubt after a loss, convincing you to make it back with just one more trade. These emotions are invisible, but they control everything. Most traders enter the markets believing their biggest challenge is technical. They think success comes from mastering indicators, strategies, and patterns. But the truth is, your greatest enemy isn't the market, it's your own mind. When fear strikes, you cut winners too soon. When greed takes over, you hold losers too long. When doubt creeps in, you second-guess even the most solid plan. You felt it, that hesitation before clicking buy, that sudden rush of confidence after one lucky win, the sinking feeling of regret after breaking your rules. That's the voice of the inner saboteur, the emotional mind that doesn't care about logic or long-term growth. It only craves comfort, validation, and the illusion of control. It wants safety when things look risky. It wants revenge when things go wrong. And in trading, those instincts are poison. Because trading isn't about survival of the strongest. It's about survival of the calmest. You can't force the market to obey your analysis. You can't control its timing, its volatility, or its direction. But every trader tries. They move stop losses. They chase moves. They overanalyze. They try to impose order on chaos. And in so doing, they lose the only thing they ever truly controlled: themselves. Control in trading doesn't come from prediction. It comes from presence. From staying emotionally neutral no matter what happens on the screen. Because every time you react emotionally, the market has already won. It's not personal, it's psychological. The market is a mirror reflecting everything you bring into it. Your fears, your hopes, your insecurities. When you feel anxious after a losing streak, the market shows you your relationship with loss. When you get overconfident after a few wins, the market humbles you with reality. It exposes you, not to punish you, but to teach you. That's the silent war. The market isn't trying to break you. It's trying to reveal you. Every trader reaches a point where they realize this isn't about learning more setups. It's about learning yourself. You start to notice patterns, not on the chart, but in your behavior. You see how certain trades trigger impatience, how certain results trigger self-doubt. And slowly, the focus shifts from
what is the market doing, to what am I feeling? That's the moment clarity begins. The moment you stop seeing trading as a game of prediction and start seeing it as a practice of emotional awareness. Because in the end, markets don't defeat traders. Emotions do. Fear makes you freeze. Greed makes you chase. Ego makes you blind. And once you recognize that, once you begin to see your emotions for what they are, just signals, not commands, you take your first real step towards mastery. Elite traders don't win because they never feel emotion. They win because they've learned to observe it without acting on it. They've accepted uncertainty. They've made peace with risk. They understand that every trade is just one of many, not a reflection of their worth, not a test of their intelligence, but part of a lifelong process. They don't fight the market. They flow with it, calm, patient, detached. Their hidden strength is emotional balance, and it's not something they were born with. It was built one trade at a time. So ask yourself, what are you really fighting? Is it the volatility of the market, or is it the volatility of your own mind? The path to mastery begins with awareness. The more you understand your emotions, the less they control you. And as you gain control of yourself, the market begins to feel less chaotic. Because it's not chaos you're taming, it's your own reaction to it. This is where your transformation begins. Not with more information, but with more introspection. Not with strategy, but with self-awareness. Because in the silent war within every trader, the greatest victory is peace. But if emotional control is the key, how do you build it? If success isn't found in charts or analysis, where do the elite traders find their edge? The answer lies in the next chapter. Chapter 2. The hidden strategy no chart can teach. We'll explore why true mastery isn't found in indicators or predictions, but in calm, emotional neutrality and the deep self-awareness that separates amateurs from professionals.
Chapter 2. The hidden strategy no chart can teach. You've studied the charts. You've memorized patterns, tested indicators, and built strategies that look flawless on paper. You've told yourself that if you could just find the right setup, the right entry, the perfect confirmation, everything would fall into place. And yet, it doesn't. You follow your plan one day and break it the next. You know what you should do, but something invisible keeps pulling you off course. You make decisions that you can't explain, decisions that make no sense even to you. You're not missing a strategy. You're missing control. Because the real edge in trading isn't found in a formula or a backtest. It's found in the space between your thoughts, in the calmness that remains when emotion stops clouding your judgment. This is the hidden strategy no chart can teach. The ability to stay neutral when your mind screams for action. The power to remain still when everything inside you wants to move. It's not about predicting what happens next. It's about being prepared for anything that does. Most traders spend their entire journey looking outward, searching for new information, new tools, new secrets. But the ones who make it, the true elite, eventually turn inward. They begin to realize that their mind, not the market, determines the outcome. They learn to see the market for what it is, a mirror reflecting their emotional state. When you're fearful, the market feels hostile. When you're greedy, the market feels like opportunity. When you're calm, the market simply is. That's the level where real mastery begins, when you stop trying to force control over the market and start mastering control over yourself. Think of the difference between a novice and a veteran trader. The novice reacts. The veteran responds. Both see the same chart. Both see the same price action. But one is consumed by emotion, and the other observes it from a distance,
detached, analytical, still. That difference isn't skill, it's state of mind. Emotional neutrality, that's the true holy grail. It means you no longer label your trades as wins or losses, success or failure. They simply become data, feedback, information. You stop taking it personally. You stop letting your self-worth rise and fall with every tick on the screen. Because the moment your emotions attach to an outcome, your judgment becomes biased. You start trading to feel good, not to trade well. You chase trades that give you excitement. You avoid trades that feel uncomfortable. You close winners too early because you fear losing what you've gained, and you hold losers too long because you can't bear the pain of being wrong. That's not strategy. That's emotion pretending to be logic. True trading mastery is quiet. It's not loud confidence or adrenaline. It's calm certainty, a steady rhythm of process, reflection, and patience. Every elite trader knows this. When you stop chasing the outcome, you start mastering the process. You begin to realize that your job isn't to make money. Your job is to execute well, to make clear, rational decisions again and again until results naturally follow. The irony is, when you stop trying to win every trade, you start winning more often, because you're no longer fighting against your emotions, you're flowing with them. You stop asking, what is the market going to do? And start asking, what am I going to do no matter what the market does? That's emotional neutrality. That's the edge no chart can measure. It's built slowly, through awareness, discipline, and reflection. Every time you feel fear and don't act on it, you strengthen it. Every time you feel greed and let it pass, you grow calmer. Every time you face uncertainty and remain composed, you evolve. This is the hidden training no one talks about, the mental conditioning behind the scenes. Elite traders don't just plan their trades, they train their minds. They understand that every day in the market is a test, not of knowledge, but of character. The market doesn't care how smart you are. It cares about how stable you remain when everything feels uncertain. That's why the best traders often meditate, reflect, or journal. They review not only their trades, but their emotions. They ask questions like, what was I feeling before I entered? Was I trading from fear or from clarity? Because in trading, your state of mind before the trade often determines the outcome after it. When you're calm, you follow your plan. When you're anxious, you abandon it. When you're patient, opportunities come to you. When you're desperate, you chase them away. The market rewards emotional maturity, not intensity. You might think you need more screen time, but what you really need is stillness. Stillness sharpens perception. Stillness brings awareness. Stillness allows you to see beyond the noise, beyond the flashing candles and the short-term chaos, into the deeper rhythm of the market. That's why the most successful traders often seem detached. They don't get overly excited by wins or crushed by losses, because they understand something simple. A trade is just a moment. It doesn't define them. They've trained their minds to separate identity from performance. They know they are not their P&L. They are not their last trade. They are the observer, calm, aware, evolving. This inner stillness becomes their greatest strategy. No indicator can replicate it. No algorithm can imitate it, because it's human, deeply, powerfully human. And that's what makes it rare. When you build emotional neutrality, you stop being a reactive participant in the market and start becoming a composed strategist of your own behavior. You begin to act with intention rather than impulse. You stop overtrading. You stop forcing outcomes. You learn to wait.
Waiting not as hesitation, but as strength. The strength to let setups come to you. The patience to trust your plan. The humility to sit still when the market gives no signal. That's what elite traders have mastered. They know that doing nothing is sometimes the most profitable action of all, because they understand control doesn't mean predicting the market. It means controlling yourself when you can't. And that's the secret no chart can ever show you. So as you listen now, ask yourself, how much of your trading success depends on your strategy, and how much depends on your state of mind? If your results don't reflect your knowledge, maybe it's not your system that needs refining. Maybe it's your psychology. The greatest traders in the world don't just trade markets, they trade their own emotions every single day. They've learned to recognize fear before it dictates their moves, to sense greed before it clouds their vision, to act from clarity, not impulse. And that's what separates them from the crowd. Because charts show price, but your mind defines value. And until you master your emotions, no technical analysis will save you. This is the real work of trading. This is where skill becomes art. This is the hidden strategy no chart can teach. And yet to truly understand it, you must first confront the forces that control every trader: fear, greed, the need for control. In the next chapter, we'll dive deep into these emotions. We'll uncover how they shape every decision you make and how awareness turns reaction into mastery.
Chapter 3: The Psychology of Fear, Greed, and Control. Every trader begins with a dream: freedom, success, the power to turn discipline into wealth. But behind that dream lies a truth few ever face: that the markets don't test your intelligence, they test your emotions. Fear, greed, and the need for control, these are the invisible hands that guide every click, every hesitation, every decision. They are primal forces, older than the markets themselves, and until you understand them, they will shape your trading far more than any strategy ever could. Let's start with the first emotion: fear. Fear is the oldest survival instinct we have. It kept our ancestors alive when danger approached. But in the markets, that same instinct becomes your greatest enemy. You feel it when your trade moves against you, when losses grow faster than your confidence, when uncertainty replaces logic and your heart races before your brain can think. Fear whispers a dangerous story, that you must act now or lose everything. It convinces you to exit too soon, to avoid pain rather than pursue clarity. It tells you that a small loss is unbearable, even when avoiding it leads to greater mistakes. But fear isn't just about loss, it's about identity. When you fear losing, what you're really afraid of is being wrong. And that fear blinds you from seeing what the market is truly telling you. The elite trader doesn't escape fear, they simply learn to interpret it. They see fear as information, a sign that ego is speaking, not logic, and they breathe through it, returning to their plan, their process, their center. Now, on the opposite side of fear lies greed. If fear is the voice that tells you to protect what you have, greed is the one that whispers you deserve more. It starts softly: a win, a surge of confidence, a rush of validation. And suddenly you feel untouchable. You double your size. You ignore your rules. You start believing you can't lose, until the market reminds you that you can. Greed disguises itself as ambition. It's not the desire to grow, it's the obsession to grow now. It pushes you to force trades that don't exist. It tells you that patience is weakness and that your gut knows better than your plan. But greed always ends the same way, not with victory, but with exhaustion. Because greed isn't driven by opportunity, it's driven by emotion, and emotion has no discipline. The truth is, both fear and greed are born from the same root, the illusion of control. We believe that if we can predict the market, we can control it. If we analyze enough, plan enough, think enough, we'll be safe. But control in trading is an illusion. You can't control what the market will do. You can only control how you respond to it. And yet, the human mind craves control more than it craves truth. It hates uncertainty. It seeks patterns even in chaos. It wants to believe that every move, every candle, has meaning that can be mastered. But the market doesn't reward control. It rewards surrender. Not blind surrender, but conscious acceptance. The understanding that your job is not to fight uncertainty, but to flow with it. That's where true power begins, in releasing the need to control what you cannot and mastering what you can, your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions. Because when you stop trying to control the market, you begin to control yourself. Every trader experiences these emotions. What separates the elite from the average is awareness. The average trader reacts. The elite trader observes. They feel fear, but they don't act on it. They feel greed, but they don't chase it. They feel the urge to control, but they let go and trust their process. It's not that they're emotionless, it's that they've learned to see emotions for what they are, signals, not instructions. When you start noticing your emotional triggers, something powerful happens. You slow down. You begin to recognize patterns, not just on charts, but within yourself. You realize that your trading performance isn't a reflection of market conditions, but of your inner state. Your mind is the market you must first master. Fear shows up as hesitation. Greed shows up as overconfidence. Control shows up as frustration. Each of them is a message, pointing you back to awareness. So the next time you feel afraid to take a trade, ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? The loss or the feeling of failure? When you feel greedy after a win, ask yourself, what am I chasing? The money or the feeling of being right? And when you feel the need to control, ask yourself, what am I resisting? The market's uncertainty or my own lack of trust in myself? These questions dissolve the emotional fog. They bring you back to clarity, the place where true decisions are made. Because awareness is the first step to emotional control, and emotional control is the foundation of mastery. The best traders don't fight their emotions. They befriend them. They study them, learn from them, and transform them into strength. Fear becomes caution, balanced by logic. Greed becomes ambition, tempered by patience. The need for control becomes focus, control over the self. And once you reach that point, trading no longer feels chaotic. It becomes a form of meditation, a reflection of your inner calm. Each trade becomes a mirror, showing you who you are in that moment. And with every moment of awareness, you evolve. Because the market is not just a financial system, it's a psychological one. It doesn't test your strategy, it tests your ability to stay conscious in the face of emotion. The longer you trade, the more you'll realize the battle was never between you and the market. It was always between you and your own impulses.
Fear, greed, and control, they never disappear, but they lose their power when you stop identifying with them. They become part of the background noise, familiar, but no longer in charge. And that's when you begin to feel something new. Detachment. The quiet freedom that comes from letting go. The peace that comes from knowing you don't have to control everything to perform well. The confidence that comes from trusting your process instead of your emotions. That's the next step in your evolution as a trader. In the next chapter, we'll explore the state of mind in depth, what it means to trade without emotional attachment, to make decisions without ego, hope, or fear.
Chapter 4. Detachment. The power of trading without emotion. There's a moment in every trader's life when the market stops feeling like numbers and starts feeling like a mirror. Every tick, every candle, every sudden move reflects something deeper within. Hope, fear, ego, attachment. It's in that mirror that most traders lose themselves. They don't just trade the market, they trade their emotions. They chase the chart like it owes them something. They stare at their P&L like it defines who they are. And when the trade goes against them, it feels personal, like the market is punishing them. But here's the truth that elite traders eventually learn. The market is not personal. It doesn't love you. It doesn't hate you. It simply exists. And your power lies in learning to exist with it without attachment. Detachment is not cold indifference. It's calm clarity. It's the ability to see clearly without being pulled by the emotions that distort judgment. Imagine a pilot flying through a storm. If he panics, he crashes. If he clings too tightly to one direction, he loses control. But if he stays calm, trusting his instruments, trusting the process, he navigates safely through chaos. That's detachment. And in trading, it's your instrument panel. Many traders confuse detachment with lack of care. But detachment isn't about not caring. It's about not needing. You can still have ambition. You can still want success. But you don't need every trade to prove your worth. You don't need every outcome to go your way. Because you know, your value as a trader is not defined by a single position, but by your ability to stay centered, to think clearly, to act with discipline, regardless of what the market throws at you. Think of a candle flame in the wind. If you guard it with shaky hands, it flickers. If you grip too tightly, it dies. But if you let the air flow naturally, it finds its steady light. Your emotions are the same. Control them too tightly, and you create tension. Ignore them, and they burn out of control. But observe them without judgment, and they lose their power over you. That's emotional mastery, and that's where detachment begins. When you detach, you start making decisions based on probability, not emotion. You begin to see trades as events, not judgments. Each position becomes just one of 1,000 outcomes, not a test of your identity. The losing trade is no longer a failure. It's information. The winning trade is no longer validation. It's data. And when you think like this, you remove the emotional spikes that drain your energy. You stop fighting the market. You start flowing with it. Every professional trader eventually discovers this shift. It's the point when trading stops being about money and starts being about mindset. Because once you master your reactions, the charts become quiet. You see opportunities more clearly. You think less, but understand more. This is where discipline becomes effortless, not forced, not mechanical, but natural, born from emotional balance. If you want to cultivate detachment, you must first train awareness. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now before I click buy? Am I trying to get revenge on the market? Am I trading from fear of missing out? Or am I following my process? The goal is not to eliminate emotion. It's to see emotion clearly before it controls you. Because awareness creates distance, and distance creates control. Detachment also means surrendering to uncertainty. No matter how good your analysis, you will never predict every move. The market will always remain bigger, faster, and wilder than you. And that's okay, because your power isn't in predicting, it's in responding. The elite trader doesn't try to control the storm. He becomes the calm within it. He knows that emotions don't vanish through denial. They dissolve through observation, through patience, through perspective. Imagine this. You take a trade. It moves against you. Instead of panic, you breathe. You adjust your stop. You accept the outcome. You move on. That moment, that calm surrender, is where professionalism begins. Detachment allows you to trade today, tomorrow, and every day after without the emotional exhaustion that breaks most traders. It's the invisible edge, the one no indicator can measure, the one no mentor can give you. It's built, quietly, through self-awareness and control. And as you grow in this mindset, you'll notice something powerful. Your emotional highs and lows begin to flatten. The chaos of the market no longer shakes you. You stop chasing excitement and start valuing consistency. That's when trading becomes peaceful, predictable, purposeful. You stop reacting to every flicker of the chart and start mastering yourself. And as this calm strengthens, a new layer of mastery begins to form. Discipline. Because detachment isn't just emotional freedom, it's the foundation for structured, consistent behavior. It's what allows elite traders to follow their plan, even when emotions whisper, break the rules. It's the bridge between awareness and action, between knowing what to do and actually doing it. And that bridge is where the next chapter takes us. Next chapter. The disciplined blueprint of consistent winners. Discover how structure, process, and daily discipline turn detachment into mastery, and traders into professionals.
There's a quiet truth about trading that most ignore. Success isn't built in moments of excitement. It's built in the silence of repetition, in the small, almost invisible decisions that happen day after day. Discipline isn't glamorous. It doesn't come with adrenaline or instant results, but it's the foundation of every consistent trader's success. Because without structure, the market becomes chaos, and without discipline, the trader becomes lost within it. Discipline is not about punishment or restriction. It's about alignment. It's aligning your actions with your goals, even when emotions pull you in every direction. The disciplined trader doesn't rely on motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It fades with losses, fatigue, or boredom. Discipline, however, is steady. It's the anchor that keeps you grounded when the sea of the market turns violent. Every professional trader understands this. Discipline is a system, not a feeling. It's built through habits, small, repeatable actions that stack over time. Think about the world's best athletes. They don't train only when they feel like it. They train because it's their identity. They show up every single day, even when they're tired, uncertain, or uninspired. Trading is no different. Every trade, every journal entry, every risk calculation is a quiet repetition of mastery. Discipline begins long before the trade is placed. It starts with preparation. A consistent trader doesn't wake up and open charts in panic. They begin with a routine, a calm morning ritual, a structured review of their plan, an emotional check-in with themselves before they face the market. They know that trading is 80% preparation, 20% execution, and that structure isn't about control, it's about clarity. Picture this: two traders, same market, same setup. The first jumps in the moment he sees a pattern. His heart races. He feels the rush of opportunity. He's chasing. The second pauses. He reviews his rules. He checks his risk, his confirmation, his state of mind. He doesn't act from impulse. He acts from structure. The market moves in the same way for both, but the outcome? Entirely different. Because discipline isn't about predicting the market, it's about controlling the self. The disciplined trader thinks like an engineer. They design their process to protect themselves from themselves. Their rules are not cages, they are guardrails, boundaries that create freedom. Freedom from overtrading, freedom from emotional impulse, freedom from the chaos of uncertainty. This process-driven approach transforms trading from a gamble to a profession. There's power in structure, because structure builds consistency, and consistency builds trust, trust in yourself. Every time you follow your plan, even when it hurts, you reinforce your self-belief. You teach your mind that you are in control, not emotion, that you can act from principle, not impulse. And over time, this self-trust becomes your greatest edge. But discipline doesn't come naturally. It must be trained. It's built through repetition, through routine, through reflection. Here's what that looks like for elite traders. They start the day early in stillness. No rush, no noise, just focus. They journal their thoughts before they trade. They write what they're feeling: fear, excitement, uncertainty, so they can see it before it blinds them. They review their plan. They know their setups, their risk, their limits. And when the market opens, they execute with precision, not because they're fearless, but because they're prepared. After the trading session ends, they don't celebrate wins or mourn losses. They analyze. What did I do well? What did I break? What emotion led me astray? The journal becomes a mirror, not of performance, but of psychology. And through that reflection, they improve, slowly, quietly, consistently. Discipline also means respecting limits, knowing when not to trade, knowing when your mental energy is low, knowing when the urge to prove yourself is stronger than your objectivity. Professional traders step away when emotion rises, because they know one impulsive click can undo weeks of progress. They understand that patience is a form of discipline too. Sometimes the most powerful move in trading is no move at all. But there's a deeper layer to discipline, one that goes beyond habits and structure. It's about identity. The disciplined trader doesn't try to be disciplined. They are disciplined. It's who they are. It's embedded in their thinking, their posture, their breathing. It's not forced. It's natural. This identity is formed when you stop seeing rules as restrictions and start seeing them as expressions of mastery. When your process becomes a reflection of self-respect, you no longer fight against your system. You flow with it. Discipline also transforms emotion into energy. Instead of resisting fear or frustration, the disciplined trader channels them into focus. Fear sharpens awareness. Frustration signals imbalance. Loss reminds you to respect risk. Discipline doesn't destroy emotion, it directs it.
This is how consistency is born, not from suppression, but transformation. You'll know you're growing in discipline when you stop feeling addicted to trading, when you can walk away without regret, when missing a trade doesn't bother you, when you care more about process than profit. That's the moment you cross the threshold from amateur to professional. Because true discipline gives you control, not just over your trades, but over your mind, your time, your peace. Discipline is not built in a single decision. It's built in thousands of micro-choices, each one small but significant, each one reinforcing who you are becoming. Over time, these choices reshape the mind, and what begins as forced effort evolves into effortless flow. This is the blueprint of consistent winners, calm, structured, process-driven traders who act not from emotion, but from clarity. And that leads us to the next transformation. Because discipline alone is not enough. To sustain it, you must reprogram how you think, how you perceive risk, loss, and self-worth. You must train your brain to respond differently, to replace fear with focus and anxiety with confidence. This is the next evolution, the inner rewiring of a trader's mind.
Chapter 6. Reprogramming the Trader's Mind. Your mind is your greatest trading tool, but for most traders, it's also the greatest obstacle. Every chart you analyze, every entry you take, every loss that stings a little too deep, they all trace back to one central source: your thinking patterns. You don't trade the market. You trade your beliefs, your fears, and your expectations of it. If your mind is reactive, impulsive, or clouded with emotion, no strategy will save you. But if your mind is trained, clear, calm, and objective, even the simplest approach can produce extraordinary consistency. This is the art of mental reprogramming, the process of reshaping how you think so that your thoughts no longer control you, but serve you. Let's begin with a simple truth. Your brain is not designed for trading. It's designed for survival. When you lose a trade, your brain interprets it as danger. Your nervous system reacts instantly, heart racing, muscles tightening, thoughts spiraling towards self-protection. You're not thinking logically anymore. You're thinking emotionally. The problem isn't that you feel emotion. The problem is that you believe it. Reprogramming begins when you start seeing emotions not as commands, but as signals. They don't tell you what to do. They tell you what's happening inside you. Think of your mind as a circuit. Every emotional reaction follows a path, a neural loop, that repeats every time you face stress or uncertainty. If you overtrade when you're frustrated, that's a loop. If you chase setups after a loss, that's a loop. If you freeze right before pulling the trigger, that's a loop. Each of these patterns was built over time, not by choice, but by repetition. And what's repeated becomes automatic. To reprogram, you must break the loop, and you do that through awareness and replacement. The first step is awareness. You can't change what you don't notice. Before the trade, check your emotional temperature. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Am I calm? Am I anxious? Am I trying to prove something? The simple act of observing interrupts the loop. It separates you from the emotion. You move from being inside the storm to watching the storm. And from that space, you regain control. The second step is reframing. The thoughts you repeat shape your trading behavior. If you constantly think, I can't afford another loss, your brain operates from fear. If you think, I must make this trade work, you're attaching your worth to the outcome. But if you shift the frame from I must win to
I must execute correctly. Everything changes. You stop focusing on results and start focusing on process. You stop needing the market to validate you. And when the need for validation disappears, clarity enters. The third step is replacement. You can't erase a thought. You can only override it. When you catch yourself thinking, "I always mess this up," replace it with, "I'm learning to handle this better each time." When your mind says, "I'm missing opportunities," replace it with, "Patience is a position." This isn't self-help, it's neuroscience. Each repetition strengthens a new neural pathway, and over time, those new connections become the default. You are quite literally rewiring your trading brain. Reprogramming also means changing your relationship with mistakes. Most traders treat losses as personal failures. They become emotional triggers that reinforce fear and doubt. But elite traders see them differently. They view each loss as feedback, data, information, nothing more. This shift in perspective transforms the mind, because when a loss stops attacking your identity, it loses its power to control your behavior. The goal is not to eliminate emotion. It's to build emotional resilience, the ability to experience discomfort without reacting impulsively. That's true mental strength. Here's a practice used by many top-performing traders: mental rehearsal. Before each session, visualize yourself executing your plan perfectly. See yourself calm under pressure. See yourself closing the platform when conditions aren't right. See yourself accepting losses without frustration. Your brain doesn't know the difference between real experience and vivid imagination. So each visualization becomes a rehearsal for discipline. You're conditioning your mind to respond calmly before chaos ever hits. Reprogramming also involves environment. Your mind absorbs everything around it: the noise, the distractions, the emotional energy of your space. If you trade surrounded by chaos, your thoughts will mirror it. Build an environment that supports calmness. Minimal distractions, a clean desk, soft light, perhaps a journal beside you, a place where thoughts go before they become actions. This small shift creates mental clarity, and clarity is the birthplace of control. Another powerful tool is language. The words you use shape how your brain perceives the world. When you say, "The market punished me," you give away your power. When you say, "I made a poor decision," you take ownership. When you say, "I need to recover losses," you act from desperation. But when you say, "I'm focused on following my plan," you act from discipline. Change your language and your actions will follow. But the deepest form of reprogramming comes from how you see yourself. If you identify as a gambler, you'll act like one. If you see yourself as a student of the market, you'll stay humble, patient, and curious. If you see yourself as a professional, your actions will align with professionalism, structure, control, and responsibility. Identity drives behavior. You can't sustain actions that don't match how you see yourself. So, the question becomes, who are you becoming? Not what are you trading, but who are you when you trade? Reprogramming is not an overnight process. It's a quiet evolution. You'll still feel frustration. You'll still face fear. But over time, those emotions lose their grip. You'll start noticing the space between stimulus and reaction, the space where choice lives. That's where true mastery begins, not in technical skill, but in mental freedom. And every moment you choose awareness over reaction, you strengthen that freedom. Eventually, the markets stop feeling like an opponent.
They become a mirror, reflecting your state of mind back to you. When you're calm, you see clearly. When you're desperate, you distort reality. The goal of reprogramming is to remove distortion, to see the market and yourself as they truly are. No fear, no greed, just clarity. As this transformation deepens, something remarkable happens. You begin to experience moments of complete alignment, where logic, intuition, and presence merge effortlessly, where time slows and every decision flows naturally without force or hesitation. That is the flow state, the pinnacle of emotional mastery. It's not luck, it's not magic. It's the reward for a reprogrammed, balanced, and present mind. Next chapter, the flow state, trading with total presence. In the next chapter, we'll explore how elite traders enter the zone, merge logic with intuition, and trade with effortless precision and peace.
There's a rare moment in trading when everything feels effortless, when your eyes move across the charts with clarity, when your mind is silent and your actions unfold with precision, without doubt, without hesitation. This is what traders call the zone. Psychologists call it the flow state. It's a mental space where logic and intuition become one, and emotion dissolves into pure focus. Every elite trader knows this feeling. It's not luck, it's mastery, born from awareness, discipline, and trust. The flow state isn't something you chase, it's something you allow. It appears when you're fully present, when you stop forcing outcomes and start aligning with the process. To understand flow, you must first understand its opposite, resistance. Resistance is what you feel when you force trades, when you doubt your plan, when your mind is divided between what's happening and what you wish would happen. Resistance feels heavy. It's emotional. It's full of noise. Flow is the absence of that noise. It's when your attention narrows so deeply that time itself feels irrelevant. You stop judging. You stop fearing. You simply are. It's the most powerful mental state a trader can experience. And it's built, not found. Think back to your best trading moments. Not your biggest wins, your best decisions. Those times when you saw the setup clearly, when you acted without hesitation, and your mind felt perfectly in sync with your actions. That was flow. You weren't overthinking. You weren't attached to results. You were just doing. The market moved, and you moved with it, as if guided by rhythm rather than reason. This is what happens when preparation, patience, and presence meet in perfect harmony. So how do you reach this state deliberately? It begins long before you enter a trade. Flow is built on clarity. You can't be present if your mind is cluttered. You can't be calm if you haven't done the work. Before the session begins, review your plan. Know your entries, your exits, your risk. When structure is clear, your mind relaxes. When you know what to do, you don't have to think, you can feel. That's where intuition starts to grow. Not from instinct alone, but from repeated experience under control. Intuition is simply pattern recognition built through discipline. It's your subconscious reading the market faster than your conscious mind. But for intuition to lead, your emotions must be silent. Flow requires trust. Trust in your strategy, trust in your process, but above all, trust in yourself. If you doubt your decisions, flow collapses. If you question your every move, you break the rhythm. That's why flow belongs only to the prepared mind. The mind that has done the work, that knows its system, that accepts uncertainty without fear. When trust is present,
the need to control disappears. You stop chasing perfection and start responding to what is. And in that moment, everything feels effortless. Flow also requires detachment. You cannot be fully present if you're emotionally tied to the outcome. If you need the trade to work, you'll hesitate. If you fear being wrong, you'll overthink. If you're attached to profit, you'll lose presence. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care deeply about process, not outcome. You care about doing your job well, not about what the next candle will bring. That's how elite traders operate. They don't fight the market, they flow with it. Imagine a surfer riding a wave. They don't control the ocean, they read its rhythm. They align with its movement. They act from balance, not force. That's trading in flow. You don't predict the market, you feel it. Not through emotion, but through presence. The charts stop being numbers and lines. They become language. You read them instinctively because your mind is quiet enough to listen. To reach flow more consistently, you must build conditions that invite it. First, focus on one task at a time. When you trade, trade. Don't scroll your phone. Don't chase multiple setups. Direct your full attention to what's in front of you. Second, breathe. Deep, controlled breathing signals safety to your brain. It calms your nervous system and sharpens awareness. It's impossible to enter flow when your body is tense. Third, detach from time. Stop staring at every candle. Let go of urgency. Flow is timeless. It only exists when you stop measuring progress by seconds or dollars. And fourth, reflect afterward, not during. Flow requires full immersion. Don't analyze mid-trade, just act. Let the analysis come later. When you allow yourself to be fully here, fully now, flow will meet you there. There's a myth that flow happens only to professionals. That's not true. Anyone can enter it, but only if they remove the internal noise that blocks it. Your doubts, your fears, your need for control, these are barriers. Each one pulls you out of presence. Flow doesn't demand perfection. It demands surrender. A willingness to stop fighting your thoughts and start trusting your preparation. It's the moment you stop trying to win and simply focus on executing well. Some traders describe it as a trance. Others say it feels like time freezes. But the truth is simpler. In flow, your mind and the market move as one. You're not reacting, you're responding. You're not controlling, you're connected. Every decision comes from stillness, not struggle. You begin to realize that trading isn't about domination, it's about alignment. And when you trade from alignment, losses no longer feel threatening. They're just part of the rhythm. Flow is fragile. The moment ego enters, it breaks. The moment fear returns, it fades. That's why emotional awareness is so important. When you feel tension rising, step back. When you feel the urge to force a trade, breathe. You can't chase flow. You must invite it gently by creating mental space for it to exist. And over time, it becomes easier. Your mind learns the feeling of clarity, the balance of emotion and logic, the rhythm of calm precision. That's when trading transforms from struggle to artistry. You'll know you're in flow when results no longer dictate your mood, when you feel calm in both profit and loss, when every trade, win or lose, feels like part of one continuous process. That's emotional mastery in its purest form. And it leads directly to the next evolution of your mindset: resilience. Because even the most present, balanced trader will face drawdowns, mistakes, and setbacks. The difference is how they respond. The flow state gives you clarity. Resilience gives you strength. One helps you perform. The other helps you endure. Next chapter, resilience, turning losses into strength. In the next chapter, we'll explore how elite traders recover from failure, extract lessons from every setback, and build unshakable mental toughness, the kind that turns every loss into a foundation for growth.
Every trader faces loss. No one escapes it. Not the beginners, not the professionals, not even the legends. But what separates the elite from the average is not how often they win, it's how they respond when they lose. Resilience is the quiet strength behind every long-term trader's success. It's not loud. It doesn't look glamorous, but it's the backbone of mastery. Because in trading, failure isn't a verdict. It's feedback. It's the market's way of showing you where your mindset still needs work. When you start trading, every loss feels personal. It feels like the market rejected you, like every red candle is pointing at your worth. But over time, resilient traders begin to see something deeper. They realize that loss is neutral. It has no emotion, no judgment, no intent. It's simply a result of probability. A resilient mind doesn't ask, "Why did this happen to me?" It asks, "What is this trying to teach me?" That single shift from reaction to reflection is how resilience is built. Think of every loss as a mirror. It reflects your habits, your beliefs, and your blind spots. If you look away, you learn nothing. But if you study that reflection, honestly, without ego, you grow stronger with every setback. Because each loss carries a message. Maybe it's discipline. Maybe it's patience. Maybe it's risk control. The resilient trader doesn't avoid discomfort. They lean into it. They extract lessons others are too emotional to see. And over time, this becomes their greatest advantage. There's a powerful truth about resilience. It's not built in moments of success. It's built in moments of struggle. When everything goes right, you feel confident, but not tested. When everything goes wrong, you face your true limits. That's where growth lives. The trader who survives the storm becomes stronger, not because the market got easier, but because they got tougher. Losses that once broke them now barely shake them. Drawdowns that used to feel unbearable become opportunities for review. Every setback transforms into a stepping stone. Resilience turns pain into progress. To develop resilience, you must first change your relationship with loss. Most traders think of losses as something to avoid. Resilient traders see them as part of the game. Every strategy has losing trades. Every system has drawdowns. Every market shift brings uncertainty. Resilience means staying stable through it all, not because the outcome is certain, but because your mindset is. When you expect losses, they no longer shock you. When you accept them, they no longer control you. When you learn from them, they make you unstoppable. There's an old saying, "The market rewards those who can stay in the game the longest." That's what resilience gives you. Staying power. It's not about having a perfect month. It's about having the strength to recover after a bad one. It's about rebuilding your confidence, your focus, and your belief in your edge. The resilient trader doesn't spiral after a loss. They reset. They review their trades, their emotions, their mindset. Then they return, clear, grounded, and wiser than before. That's emotional endurance. That's what longevity looks like in this business. Let's break down the mindset of a resilient trader. First, acceptance. They accept uncertainty as part of trading. They don't demand control over what can't be controlled. Second, reflection. After every mistake, they analyze, not obsess. They look for patterns in behavior, not just patterns in price. Third, adaptation. They make adjustments, small, precise, deliberate. They evolve rather than react. And fourth, recommitment. They return to their process. Every loss becomes fuel to refine their discipline, not a reason to quit. That's resilience in action. Resilience doesn't mean being emotionless. It means feeling the emotion, but not letting it dictate your behavior. It means acknowledging the frustration of a losing streak, then grounding yourself in perspective. You say to yourself, "This is temporary. This is data, not disaster. This is a lesson, not a defeat." Over time, those words become instinct. You stop spiraling into fear or anger. You start responding with awareness and calm. And that shift from emotional reactivity to emotional stability is where the strongest version of you begins to emerge. Picture this. Two traders suffer the same loss. One breaks down, blames the market, blames their luck, doubles down in frustration. The other steps back, takes a breath, reviews their plan, journals the experience. The same event, two different responses, two completely different futures. Because resilience isn't about what happens to you, it's about how you choose to interpret it. Resilient traders understand that growth often hides inside discomfort. Every time you face a setback and choose to stay disciplined, you're rewiring your mind for strength. Every time you review a loss calmly, you're building self-trust. Every time you show up again after a bad day, you're proving to yourself that your future is bigger than your frustration. That's how winners are forged. Not in the sunlight of victory, but in the darkness of resilience. You see, resilience has layers. At the surface, it's endurance, the ability to keep going. But at its core, it's transformation, the power to turn struggle into wisdom. Each setback refines your focus. Each loss strengthens your patience. Each mistake humbles your ego. Over time, these fragments of pain assemble into a powerful truth. You are stronger than the market's chaos. You no longer trade from fear. You trade from understanding. There will still be drawdowns. There will still be losing weeks. But when resilience becomes part of your identity, those moments lose their power to define you. You'll start to say, "Yes, I lost today, but I learned. Yes, I made a mistake, but I adapted. Yes, I fell, but I stood back up faster." And with each comeback, your confidence becomes quieter, but deeper. Because true confidence doesn't shout. It's calm, grounded, unshakable. Resilience isn't a skill you master once. It's a muscle you train for life. Every challenge is another repetition. Every setback, another opportunity to strengthen your composure. The goal is not to avoid breaking down. It's to recover faster every time you do. You fall, you rise, you refine. And eventually, the fall doesn't scare you anymore. That's freedom. That's what resilience buys you. So the next time you face a painful loss, remember this: you're not starting over, you're starting smarter. Each mistake you survive adds to your foundation. Each challenge you overcome builds your mental armor. And slowly, the market stops feeling like an enemy. It becomes your greatest teacher. Every loss is a lesson in disguise. Every setback a test of your evolution. And every comeback a reminder of just how powerful you've become. Resilience turns pain into peace. It turns chaos into clarity. It turns failure into focus. It's the bridge between frustration and mastery. And when you cross that bridge, you begin to trade with something even stronger than confidence. You begin to trade with calm. Next chapter, the calm edge. Mastering yourself to master the market. In the next chapter, we'll go deeper into the psychology of emotional neutrality, how to detach from results, regulate your emotions, and develop a calm, focused state of mind that becomes your greatest edge in any market condition. Because after resilience comes peace, and peace in trading is power.
The greatest traders in history don't move faster than everyone else. They move calmer. They're not trying to control the market. They've learned to control themselves. Because in trading, the battlefield is not your screen, it's your mind. And the calm trader
always wins the unseen war. Think about it. The market is chaos. Thousands of participants, billions of emotions, fear, greed, impatience, all colliding in real time. Yet the elite trader stands still in the storm, unmoved, unbothered, composed. While others react, they respond. While others chase, they wait. While others fight to predict, they flow with what is. That's the calm edge, the invisible advantage no chart can show. Calm isn't weakness, it's mastery. It's the ability to make decisions with clarity when the world around you is losing its balance. A calm trader doesn't force trades. They allow them. They don't demand outcomes. They observe probabilities. They don't fear uncertainty because they've accepted that uncertainty is the game. This calmness isn't born overnight. It's forged through experience, through emotional discipline, through thousands of trades that taught one vital truth. You can't control the market, but you can always control yourself. Imagine two traders facing the same volatile chart. One feels panic as price spikes, heart racing, mind clouded, chasing every candle like it's life or death. The other breathes. Their face is still. They watch price move without attachment. They act only when their plan says to act. Same chart, same opportunity, different internal state. That difference, that inner calm, is what decides who survives and who self-destructs. The calm edge begins with awareness. Before every trade, the calm trader checks their state of mind. They ask, am I trading from peace or from pressure? Am I acting or reacting? Am I centered or chasing? That awareness alone stops countless mistakes before they happen. Because when you trade in emotional turbulence, your judgment is distorted. You see patterns that aren't real. You justify decisions that don't fit your plan. You start trading your emotions, not the market. But when you're calm, truly calm, you trade reality. Not fear, not hope, just truth. Calmness isn't built through meditation alone. It's built through repetition. Every time you feel an impulse and resist it, you strengthen emotional control. Every time you take a loss and stay composed, you reinforce mental resilience. Every time you follow your plan despite temptation, you build inner trust. Over time, this becomes who you are. Not just in trading, but in life. You start to think slower, breathe deeper, see clearer. Because calm is not a state you enter, it's a skill you cultivate. There's something profound about calmness. It changes your relationship with both success and failure. You no longer over-celebrate wins. You no longer overreact to losses. You start to see both as part of the same cycle. Neutral data, not emotional drama. This neutrality gives you consistency. It stabilizes your energy. It protects your focus from the highs and lows of the market. Because the calm trader knows you don't need to feel good to perform well. You just need to stay centered. The calm edge isn't just mental, it's physiological. Your body reflects your emotions. Your breathing, your posture, your focus, they all reveal what's happening within. Before every trading session, take a moment to ground yourself. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Center your attention on the present moment. You're not here to predict. You're here to respond. You're not here to fight the market. You're here to understand it. That single breath of calmness before action can prevent 1,000 emotional decisions later. There's a saying among professional traders, the calmer you are, the clearer you see. That clarity leads to precision. Precision leads to consistency. And consistency, that's where true freedom begins. Calmness removes the emotional fog that clouds your vision.
When you're calm, you don't need to force clarity. It simply arrives. You're no longer trying to chase control. You've become control. Over time, this calmness bleeds into your life outside trading. You stop reacting impulsively. You stop chasing instant gratification. You start thinking in probabilities, not emotions. You begin to realize that trading isn't just a financial pursuit. It's a mirror for your inner world. And every moment of calm you build here ripples through everything you do, your relationships, your habits, your decisions. Calmness in trading becomes calmness in life. When the storm hits, when the charts go wild, when everyone else panics, you'll be the still point in the chaos, because you've mastered yourself. And that's when you realize something profound. The calm edge isn't about controlling the market. It's about not needing to. You no longer trade from desperation or ego. You trade from peace, from alignment, from presence. You've become the eye of the storm, still, centered, and powerful. The calm trader doesn't fear uncertainty. They trust themselves within it. They know that the goal isn't to predict the next move, but to remain stable no matter what it is. That stability, that calm awareness, is the foundation of long-term success. Because when you master yourself, you've already mastered the market. Next chapter: The Trader's Awakening, the true strategy within. In the final chapter, we'll explore the ultimate realization that separates the emotional from the enlightened trader. You'll learn why trading mastery has never been about charts, systems, or signals, but about consciousness, awareness, and inner alignment. You don't control the market. You control your mind. And once you awaken to that truth, you'll never see trading or yourself the same way again. At some point in every trader's journey, there comes a quiet realization. It doesn't happen in a winning trade. It doesn't come after mastering a new strategy. It arrives in stillness, often after loss, frustration, or exhaustion. It's the moment you finally understand. The market was never your enemy. It was your mirror. For so long, you tried to conquer the market. You studied charts, indicators, patterns. You searched for certainty in chaos. But every time you thought you found control, the market reminded you, you never truly had it. You fought the charts. You battled your emotions. You tried to outsmart randomness. And yet, every victory felt fragile. Every loss felt personal. Until one day, you paused and saw what was really happening. You weren't trading the market. You were trading yourself. That's the awakening. The shift from control to understanding, from resistance to acceptance. You realize the charts are just a reflection of your own mind, your fears, your discipline, your patience. The market doesn't reward intelligence. It rewards awareness. Not awareness of price action, but awareness of self. Every emotional reaction you've ever had, fear after a loss, greed after a win, revenge after a mistake, was never caused by the market. It was triggered by you. The market didn't create your fear. It exposed it. The market didn't make you greedy. It revealed it. The market didn't cause your chaos. It amplified the chaos already within you. That's what makes trading the ultimate test of self-mastery. It shows you who you are and challenges you to evolve. This is where the true strategy begins, not in your analysis, but in your awareness. Every trade is a dialogue with your own psychology. Every reaction is feedback. Every emotion is a signal, not of the market, but of your inner state. And when you begin to observe these emotions without judgment, You stop being controlled by them. You move from reaction to reflection, from impulse to intention, from chaos to calm clarity. The enlightened trader no longer asks, "What is the market doing?" They ask, "What am I feeling? And why?" They see their internal patterns as clearly as price action. They study their fear of missing out like they study their moving averages. They journal their impatience like they record their setups. Because they know every internal improvement multiplies external performance. That's the hidden edge no one talks about. When this shift happens, trading transforms. It's no longer about winning, it's about alignment. You stop chasing the next trade. You start mastering the current moment. You stop obsessing over profits. You start focusing on process. You stop reacting to price. You start responding with presence. This is the difference between the emotional trader and the enlightened one. The emotional trader tries to predict the future. The enlightened trader exists in the present. And in that presence, something extraordinary happens. You begin to flow with the market, not from calculation, but from intuition sharpened by awareness. You feel when the rhythm shifts. You sense when momentum fades. You act without hesitation, not because of impulse, but because of deep alignment with your own system. This is trading without fear, trading without ego, trading without attachment. This is freedom. But this freedom doesn't mean perfection. You will still lose trades. You will still feel emotion. You will still make mistakes. The difference is you no longer identify with them. A losing trade doesn't mean you lost. A mistake doesn't mean you failed. They are just data, feedback for your continued evolution. You no longer fight your emotions. You simply observe them, thank them for what they reveal, and return to center. That's emotional mastery. That's awareness in action. When you reach this point, trading becomes something deeper, something spiritual. Every trade teaches you about yourself. Every decision sharpens your discipline. Every fluctuation tests your peace. Trading isn't about profit. It's about presence. It's a lifelong practice of balance, awareness, and humility. You evolve from a trader of markets to a trader of mind. You started this journey chasing strategies and systems. You searched for the formula to beat the market. But now you see there was no formula. There was only focus. There was only you. The calm, the discipline, the resilience, the awareness. These were the true indicators of success all along. The more you mastered yourself, the more the market seemed to align with you. Because when your inner world is steady, your external world follows. Trading mastery isn't an achievement. It's a state of being. It's the ability to stand in uncertainty and remain centered. It's the ability to lose gracefully, to win humbly, to act clearly. Success in trading was never about controlling the market. It was about understanding yourself within it. This awakening changes everything. You no longer chase trades for validation. You no longer measure your worth by your wins. You no longer fear the unknown. You've become what few ever do, a conscious participant in chaos, a calm observer in a world of noise. You've turned trading into meditation, strategy into stillness, action into awareness. You've become one with the process, and in that unity, you've found freedom. The greatest strategy you'll ever master will not appear on a chart. It will awaken within you. Because you are the edge. You are the system. You are the calm in every storm. The market will always change, but your awareness, your discipline, your peace, those are unshakable. That is the trader's awakening, the final realization of the journey. You don't control the market, you control your mind. And when you master that, everything else follows. You are here to trade from mastery. Let every trade be a lesson. Let every setback be a teacher. Let every moment bring you closer to calm awareness, emotional control, and inner freedom. Because the trader who conquers himself has already conquered the market.